Today we're going to learn to find complements and intervals of 60. Now 60 is a funny number. It shows up in clocks quite a lot. We have 60 seconds in a minute. We have 60 minutes in an hour. Well, why? Why such a weird and frankly stupid number? It seems like, why 60? I don't have 60 fingers. My fingers don't even go into 60s very easily. Why do people choose 60? Well, time is split into different intervals. Intervals means the bits that we break time into. And a lot of those we can't really choose. They're just what happens. So a day is how long it takes the planet to turn round once. We haven't got any choice in that matter. It's just the speed at which our planet goes at. So all throughout history, everybody's had a day as the same amount of time because it has to be. A year is how fast our planet goes round the sun. So again, a year is the same. You can't really change it, you can't fiddle with it. A year has to be the amount of time that a year is. And there have to be the number of days that there are in a year. In a year, we can't change it, short of slowing down our planet or speeding it up. Months are a bit weirder. Months aren't to do with the planet, they're to do with the moon and how long it takes the moon to complete a cycle. It's called a lunar cycle. But they're a little bit rubbish. A lunar cycle is 29.5 days, and if you work out your maths and you've got 365 days you've got to fill, and you've got to fill it with 29.5s, you can't do it. So months have been fiddled with, and they've been fiddled with in different ways. The Greeks had 10 months for a while, and then 60 days that they just didn't bother to put in a month. Just didn't think it was worth it. So, months, you have got a bit of flexibility. But why seconds and minutes and hours? Why 12 and 60 and 60? We do everything in tens. That's what we always do. 10p makes a 10 pence piece, and 10 10-pence pieces make a pound, and 10 pounds make a £10 note, and 10 centimetres make a decametre, and 10 decimetres make a metre, and we do everything in tens and hundreds. So why 12s and 60s? Oh, this picture should have been earlier. This is where I'm showing how the days and the years are to do with the planets going round the sun. But if you're going to choose an interval, why make it 60? It seems daft. Well, the quick answer is the Babylonians did. They did all their counting in 60s, and they copied the Sumerians, who also did counting in 60s, and they were doing it in 3,500 BC. That is over 5,500 years ago. That's the very, very first mathematics that was ever done by human beings. So the answer is, it's what we did first, but why has no one changed it? Why are we stuck with 60 seconds in an hour? Any grown-up that tries to teach a child how to read a clock knows how frankly weird and stupid clocks appear to be. So why has somebody not changed it? Well, the answer is someone did try and change it. The French tried to change it, and they actually tried twice. They tried to change it so that there were 100 minutes in an hour and 10 hours in a day. And they tried to re-spread the size of things. But frankly, nobody paid any attention to it. Nobody listened to them, and even they gave up after a few months because nobody wanted to change. And the reason is, 60 is actually a really good number. It feels like a hard number because I don't have 60 fingers, and I don't have multiples of 60 fingers. And I'm used to doing things in tens and hundreds, but 60 is actually better. Now, factors are numbers that you can times together to make another number, or more importantly, they're numbers I can split things into. I can split 60 minutes into groups of 1 minute. I can have one lot of 60. I can split them into groups of 2 minutes, and I can have 30 lots of 2. I can have 20 lots of 3. I can have 15 lots of 4. I can have 30. No, it's not 30 lots of 5. What is it? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 55, 12. That's a stupid question. I can have 12 lots of 5. I can have 10 lots of 2, 6 lots of 10, 5 lots of 12, 4 lots of 15, 3 lots of 20, 2 lots of 30, and 1 lot of 60. There are loads of different ways I can split 60 up. 100 is actually quite rubbish. I can have 1 lot of 100, I can have 2 50s, I can have 4 25s, and I can have 5 20s, I can have 10 10s, I can have 20 5s, 25 4s, 52s, or 100 1s. There aren't as many options. 60 just splits up brilliantly, and that's why people like it and they're used to it. Unfortunately for you lot, that means you need to learn to do stuff with 60s and multiples of 60. And time is pretty much the only time you'll ever do it. You will spend all of your school life doing things in multiples of 10, and then time will come along and you'll have to work in 60s. So for a couple of lessons, we're going to talk about working in 60s and 12s. So, this is a clock. It's got hours marked here. They go up to 12. But this is a nice clock. This is a children's clock. Around the outside, it's got all the minutes numbered. And they go up to 60. And in general, we use a circle to represent time in a day. I suppose it's good because time, days repeat themselves. Actually, quite often we use a digital clock now, but let's pretend that we still actually use analog clocks quite a lot, and I suppose some people do. Circles is the thing. So, 60 is brilliant. I can cut 60 minutes into 60 1-minute chunks. So if I want to give 60 people an appointment and I've only got an hour, I can give them all 1 minute. I've got 1 60 times. Now I know I said there were lots of different options, but we don't actually use all of them. We tend to do things in minute groups. We don't tend to do things in 2-minute groups. We don't tend to do things in 3s or 4s. We do tend to do 5-minute intervals. We never bother with 6-minute intervals. We do 10-minute intervals. We never bother with 12 minutes. We do 15. We do 20. We do 30. And that's an hour. So we can ignore those, because we don't tend to do those. We tend to say, oh, I'll see you in 5 minutes, or I'll see you in 10 minutes, or I'll see you in 15 minutes, or I'll see you in 20 minutes. Very rarely do we say, I'll see you in 6 minutes. It sounds weird and strangely accurate. So yeah, cutting a clock into 60 pieces, brilliant. And I've done an array at the bottom. That's 1 row with 60 things in it. I can cut into 12 pieces. That's 5-minute lumps. That's 5 by 12. 5 times 12 is 60. So I can say, I'm going to spend 5 minutes with you, and 5 minutes with you, 5 minutes with you, and then I can see 12 people, and everything's brilliant, and it fits in perfectly, and there's no spare little horrible minutes hanging around. I can cut into 6 groups. The array is 10 by 6. 10 lots of 6 is 60. We do 10 minutes quite often. You might say, you've got 10 minutes to finish your work. You've got 10 minutes to go and chat to your friend. We use 10 minutes quite a lot. We use 15 minutes all the time. And if you look at that shape, you can see why we use it. Because that's quarters. And we'll quite often say quarter of an hour. At school, playtime is 15 minutes long. It is quarter of an hour. We go home at 3:15, 15 minutes past 3. We do things in 15s all of the time. It's 15 4 times. 15 times 4 is 60. It's a brilliant one. You would never think of using the number 15 all the time in anything else. But for time, it's brilliant because it's a quarter of a clock. We sometimes do things in 20s. We don't tend to say, oh, I'll see you in third of an hour, like we would say, I'll see you in quarter of an hour. But we do use 20 minutes quite often. That's 20s 3 times, because 20 times 3 is 60. So yeah, that one's, oh, it'll take 20 minutes. It means we also do 40 minutes sometimes. And quite often we do half an hour. You've got half an hour to have your lunch. You've got half an hour to finish that piece of work. You've got half an hour to finish your tea. I'll see you in half an hour. Half an hour being 30 minutes. 30 lots of 2. So these are the main things we tend to cut a clock into. We cut it into 60 pieces when we want small bits of time to talk about. We cut it into 12 pieces when we want reasonably small amounts of time to talk about. We cut it into 6 pieces when we want a decent sized chunk. We cut it into 4 pieces because quarters are good. We cut it into 3 pieces because 20 minutes is a useful amount of time. And we cut it into 2 pieces because half an hour halves are useful. So that means you, my dear Year 3 children, need to be able to count in these numbers up to 60. Can you count in 1s to 60? I think you probably can. That's just literally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and carrying on to get to 60s. Can you count in 5s to 60? Well, yeah, I think you can, because that's the times tables go up to that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. I'm sure you can do that. Can you count in 10s to 60? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I'm pretty sure you can do that. Then there's these weird ones we don't do very often. Can you count in 15s? Well, if you're good at time, you probably can, because 15s goes 15, 30, 45, 60. Even if you have never sat there and counted in those things, you do probably recognise those numbers. 15, 30, 45, 60. We go home at 3:15. You go out to play at, is it 10:30, or it used to be, and you come back in at 10:45. We use those numbers quite a lot. So, wherein you haven't done this probably, you probably can do it if you think about it. Counting in 20s is a bit like counting in 2s. You've got 20, 40, 60. There's only 3 of them. That's really easy. So you've probably never done it, but you probably can. And counting in 30s to 60 is easy. It's 30, 60. That's it. Sometimes we do go further, and we might say, oh, you've got 90 minutes, meaning an hour and a half, but you don't need to worry about that at the moment. So these, I hope you know. These you might need to learn, but they're not hard. Look at them. There's 4 things in counting in 15s, 3 things in counting in 20s, and 2 things in counting in 30s, and they all end in 60. So it's not tricky. So what am I going to ask you to do for your work today? Well, I'm not just going to ask you to count in those numbers, because you do that in 30 seconds and then we'd be done. I'm going to give you 2 types of question. The first is finding a complement. So that's saying, I tell you how much of an hour we've used, and you tell me how much is left. So, an hour is 60 minutes. We know this. If I spent 40 minutes of it playing a computer game, how much of it have I got left? Well, where can I get 40s from? Can I make 40s out of 30s? No. Can I make 40s out of 20s? Yes, I can. I've used that 20 minutes and that 20 minutes because that makes 40. So what's left? Well, the bit that's left is 20. So 40 add something equals 20, 20. So it's 60, sorry. 40 add something equals 60, the something is 20. That might be written like that. It's the same calculation, just written backwards. So some of the bits of work today I will give you are these complements. It's basically a cherry model with 60 at the top. I tell you one half of the cherry model and you tell me the other half of the cherry model. But I will only give you today numbers that are in one of these tables. And I know everything's in the ones, but let's ignore that for a minute. So I might say to you, I don't know, I've spent 10 minutes doing something, how much is left? And then you need to count the rest, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. This would be an easy one to do, 10 minutes. I might say, oh, you've got 50 minutes, you spent 50 minutes doing it. How much is left? 10 minutes. I might say, oh, we spent 45 minutes. That's 45 minutes. Remember counting in 15s, 15, 30, 45. How much is left? Oh, that's 15. So that one shouldn't be too hard. I'll keep it all under 60 today, so you're not doing more than 1 hour. That shouldn't be too hard. That can be our first level of work. And the other thing we do is finding groups. It's a very similar thing. This says, if I had 3 15-minute appointments today, how long will they last? Well, I start it and I have been done no minutes. After 15 minutes, I've spent 15 minutes. 2 15s is 30. 3 15s is 45. 3 15s, 1, 2, 3, that's 45. 3 times 15 is 45. That is literally doing this. I might do some as written calculations and some as worded problems. Okay? But that will be it. That will be your work. Finding complements. I give you a bit of 60. You tell me the other bit. Finding groups. I tell you a calculation and multiplication. You give me the answer. Some might be worded, some might not be. If I word them, they might be in minutes or they might be in seconds. And the reason why I can do seconds is seconds are also 60 long. Not so. Minutes are also 60 seconds. So I can do the same thing with that because it's the same numbers that we're working with. It's still 60. Okay? If you've got any questions, either give me or Mrs. Osborne or Mrs. Sperry a message and we will help you out.